Just last week, I was told that my activation was interfering with the Hurricane Watch net. Did I or did I not interfere? Would you have done anything different? Let's go.
Hi, my name's Mike. I'm a full-time traveler and ham radio operator. I activate amazing parks all over the United States. Join the adventure and see what's next.
Wow, do I really look like a guy with a plan?
That traveler has
I just do things.
This is a huge, beastly, bulging man. Plates were from Kansas.
Hey radio friends, I'm Mike. Kilo Echo Zero Victor India Mike. This is the Travelin Ham. So let's go with the facts first. On October 29th, just before 2000 hours UTC, I set up my radio station in the bottom of Kings Canyon in Kings Canyon National Park, Central California. Now, at that time, when I was setting up, I was aware there was a hurricane situation going on. It was not in the forefront of my mind, and I certainly was not considering the Hurricane Watch net and its operation. So how I start a lot of my activations is I will tune up and down the band. In this case, I was on 20 meters, and I'll look for other POTA activators. And I found one on 14.322. Tried to hunt the activator and could not make contact. So I made the decision that I do a lot of times on an activation. I try to set up right next to that activator, 3 kilohertz away, thinking that I will get some of their hunters that tune up or down from that position to find me. Obviously, we're trained to listen when we tune to a frequency first. And I listened for about 5 seconds until I heard a voice come on saying that this was the frequency for the Hurricane Watch net. I found a park activator at 322. I'm going to go up to 325. I'm going to lock it in right there. And we're going to try that frequency, see if we can get a hit.
For any emergency operation centers or storm shelters within the affected area of Hurricane Watch.
325 is a hurricane net. We'll stay off of that, shall we? Oh yeah. Okay, now I know. Now I'm informed because I listened and it didn't take long. I know the hurricane net is on 14.325. So I keep tuning around. Naturally, 20 meters is pretty busy. It was hopping at this time and it was pretty full. I usually try to stay up at the upper end of the band because even if you find a spot at the lower end of the band, especially when I'm out west, I will just get stepped on in no time. So, someone will set up out east that can't hear me and they'll transmit their own activation or their own QSO and I'm getting covered up. Next thing you know, by most of the hunters out east, they're going to be able to hunt me. So I try to stay at the upper end of the band, which was pretty darn full. I found a hole at 14.328. Okay, well, standard operating practice is to be, for me, 3 kilohertz away from a station that I don't want to interfere with. I tuned up to 14.328, heard nothing. I called, is the frequency in use, multiple times. I started operating on 14.328. Now let's get this general statement out of the way pretty quick. I think the part that we can leave out of the conversation, for me, and everyone else watching this video, that the Hurricane Watch net is a primary user and I need to stay out of its way, as does anybody else. I think we're all there. I don't think we have to go up on that soapbox. The interesting part of the conversation is, what does it mean to not interfere with the Hurricane Watch net? How far away do you need to stay? That's the interesting gray area that we can visit here today. But let's continue on with the facts. So I found a hole at 14.328 and started transmitting. CQ POTA, and everything went okay for about 10 minutes or so until I got spotted and I had multiple calls start coming in. And I'll play the tape here for you so you can hear exactly what happened. But I started to get a little bit of a pileup and you can hear someone in there just starting to complain as I start to transmit.
November 5, Hotel Alpha. Come on, guys.
I got November 5, Hotel Alpha. And then I got this station who informed me that there was a problem with interference. Watch this part.
November 4, Echo X-ray.
November 4, Echo X-ray. It's a little light, but I got you. I'll give you a 4x3. 4x3, Central California. Back to you.
Kilo 70 uniform. You got a request to move up frequency. You're interfering with an emergency net. This is North Carolina, November 4, Echo X-ray. Over.
Okay, it was my understanding the net's on 325. Am I incorrect about that?
You're 5656 North Carolina from M4EX. Over.
I copy that, Richard. Thank you. I want to confirm, is the emergency net on 14325?
Yeah, somebody requested that you move up frequency. You're interfering with the net. Over.
Okay, very good. I'll move right away. I thought I was far enough away. I will move farther. Thanks for that, and I will QSY. Okay, so there you go. I'm obviously not the primary user in this frequency range. I want to stay out of the way of the hurricane, as I'm sure all of you would as well. So I moved. So that's the gist of it. That's what happened. Thank you to the operator that passed on the information to me. I don't want to shoot the messenger here. I don't think he was the person complaining. He was just passing on the fact that others were saying I was interfering. Thank you to that operator. I don't want any negativity going to him at all. I think he was just passing that information along, honestly, to help me out. Thank you. There are three possibilities of what actually happened here. One is that somehow my 891 operating at 100 watts was bleeding over its 3 kilohertz slot. I don't think it's very likely, but we have to at least say it's possible, right? Okay, fine. A much more likely scenario is that I had hunters calling me, maybe that were using power, and their signal was bleeding over, and the hurricane net was starting to hear that kind of light chirping sound from someone operating up above them. That's certainly more likely than me bleeding over. The third possibility that I thought of later is that maybe I just had a helpful band cop sitting on 14325 with his filters cranked wide open, and I was interfering with that person, with that operator listening to the net. Maybe the net was fine, and it was just some band cop, and he was listening 3600 kilohertz wide, let's say. You know, that's a whole different situation. It doesn't really matter, I guess. In a situation like that with an emergency net, if I'm told I'm interfering, I'm going to move. And again, I think you all would as well. I started my own conversation from a constructive standpoint on the Facebook POTA page, and I think it went really well. We got some really great comments. We'll go through them here and see what you think. Here's my Facebook post, just telling everybody basically what happened. I got told I was interfering. Here's what I think might have happened. Either way, I moved. I thought 3 kilohertz was enough room. What do you think? And responses are actually pretty cool. A lot of people saying you did the right thing. Why fight it? From Greg here, it's an actual emergency. If they say you're too close, move. Obviously, I just don't know who they were. James Erickson, 3 kilohertz is enough. So there's a vote for that. Just move up a couple K, says Luke. Give him a wide berth. Why not? All right. But where do you start off at? Do you start at 3 and then move, or do you think we should just start farther away? Again, that's the question. From Mike Valenti, he's got a good point here. POTA has exploded in popularity, and the hurricane net is a real emergency. Even though you may not have been splattering 3 kilohertz down, some of your hunters may have been. Don't give the POTA haters any more ammunition. That's probably a good point. You're a good operator and did the right thing. Well, thank you. Here's one from Rhea. 3 kilohertz is plenty, but if there's room to move, by all means, move and avoid the conflict. I mean, at first there wasn't. You know, when I started there, that's the only hole there was. If there was no room, I still would have moved or just quit. I'm sure Rhea would do the same. Here's an interesting thought, and I hadn't considered this. This is from Jim, and a few others said that as well. Keep the nearby bandwidth open as well. They will need to be able to QSY to other nearby frequencies for related traffic. So if another ham that's not the net operator is helping someone in the affected area get a message out, they might QSY up or down 3 kilohertz to get that message out. So I'm occupying that space. Now, hopefully in that situation, they would come on and say, hey, to this POTA operator here, we're running the Hurricane Watch Net. We need to use this frequency to get a message out. Will you QSY? Yeah. Yeah, definitely will. But that's a good thought, and I hadn't considered that contingency. Here's someone's mentioning Phil Buckhannon. I heard quite a bit of splatter while listening to the net yesterday. So that's in reference to the day that I was activating. We know at least there was some splatter then over the frequency. All right, here's an interesting one from Wade Patton. Disaster nets can have half the band. I don't care. I've seen a disaster and worked them. Don't clog up the airwaves with chit-chat when folks need communications assistance. So there's a guy saying we should just leave half the band, half of 20 meters available to them. There you go. There's an opinion. I mean, we're going to get a wide range of opinions here. Here's a comment from Dave saying that at a time when there was no hurricane, that someone came on and said we shouldn't run POTA close to 325. Even when there's no storms. You know, now you're getting into the kind of the maritime mobile net kind of range, and you're going to attract negative attention if you do that. I wouldn't recommend that. Perry here says he would have gone 3.5 kilohertz away just in case his transmitter isn't quite as accurate as he would like it to be. That gives him a little more cushion. So there you go. There's a 3.5. So we got everything from 3.5 kilohertz to half the band. Okay, here's another interesting point that I didn't know this at all. I didn't consider it. I didn't know it. The Hurricane WatchNet is currently occupying 14.325. Here's the cool part though. Jamaica is also operating an emergency net on 14.283. So there's something that's, I don't know if that's a standard frequency for them or not, a secondary frequency, but someone on Jamaica was operating at 14.283. So there you go. We're learning lots of stuff here. Justin votes on the hunter bleeding over. He says plenty of hunters looking for worked-all states and awards, running at the legal limit and wide, trying to blast through the pileups. Most likely one of them was unintentionally interfering, not you. That's possible. So that's a reason for me not to set up within 3 kilohertz and give it more room. You know, and that's not, I mean, the point of that and discussing that isn't to throw hunters under the bus. That's not the point at all. Again, it's as the activator, where should I set up and how close? And if it's possible that my hunters could bleed over, then I need to allow for more space when I set up, I think. That's how I'm going to use that information. That's not, you know, sticking the finger at you hunters. No, it's, I'm looking at this as how I need to behave, what my standard operating practices need to be, and that's something I need to take into consideration, I think. I think you should too. Jason Esterline, even if you're within the 3, or I think he means even if I'm right at or above the 3 kilohertz limit, clean, it can cause some artifacts to bleed over, making it more difficult for them to hear weak emergency traffic. You did the right thing by moving on and not arguing. There you go. Terry Bone, I say when there is a hurricane hitting islands at 185 miles per hour and everyone was given notice of the frequencies they were using, you stay 5 kilohertz away. So there you go. There's Terry saying 5 kilohertz away. That might be quite reasonable. Okay, here's a good one. Aiden Burns, I work with this net. 3 kilohertz is fine. It was probably some hunters splattering. I don't know. I kind of read that both ways, right? Like 3 kilohertz is fine, but yet it interfered. I think Aiden's saying in a nice, polite way, maybe a little bit more, but it wasn't directly your fault. Okay, but there's someone who's worked with the net that says 3 kilohertz is just fine. So now we've got everyone from someone within that works with the net saying 3 kilohertz to half the band. That's the range that we're talking about right now. Okay, here's one, I think from another YouTuber here, KB9RLW. Even though you're running barefoot, it is still possible to overdrive your modulator, causing clipping and splattering well outside of your filter range. The most useful tool on your radio for this is the ALC meter, and that's a good point. I haven't looked at that much lately. I tend to keep my mic gain down at 15, but I hadn't checked my my ALC recently. Generally, when I have, it's been pretty low, but it's been a while since I've looked. So there's a mental note for me. Thank you to the old tech guy. Greg Sanders said he's had the experience where he's running 100 watts barefoot on a dipole from Houston and had a guy from Minnesota tell him that he's bleeding over. Here's WO8 USA. I'd say in this case, of a real hurricane and real emergency, give them 5 kilohertz. And good they are there to help, indeed. Rod Steele says for some radios, 3 kilohertz isn't enough. Mac DeBusk thinks that I was probably heard a little bit on some of the radios on the Hurricane WatchNet, and my pileup was almost certainly heard on the WatchNet. It's good to give them some more space. I agree. Christopher Rex says, with the right propagation, 3 kilohertz is not enough. Maybe he's more in the 5 to 6 kilohertz range as well. So there you go. There's the facts. There's the whole conversation. What do you think? If you're an activator, what's your practice going to be in the future to stay away from the Hurricane WatchNet? You think 3 is enough? You think 5 is enough? Do you need the whole band? Somewhere buried in here in one of these comments was a guy saying, just stay off 20 meters altogether. Just the whole band, just stay off of it. So, opinions run the gamut. Where do you fall? Leave it in the comments. It's a gray area thing. And you can say, yeah, we should give them all the space that we need. But when you go out and activate, it's not gray area. You have to pick a frequency and start operating on it. You have to have some point where you say, this is too close. And my question is, where's that point for you? I'm Mike, Kilo Echo Zero, Victor, India Mike. This is the Travelin Ham. We'll see you next time.